Hello again, everyone. My name is Mark Cabrera, working with you guys today with a seminar that deals with success, the qualities of successful people. And mastery. This is one thing that I can tell you. In order for you to master anything, first you have to master yourself. When I say master yourself, is you have to be disciplined enough to understand how you can control your emotions, how you can be professional, how you can be an expert in the field, that when you speak, not only people listen, but they know you know more than a lot of people out there. And if you don't know and you haven't gotten there yet, you get others, you borrow the expertise. This is the reason why when you're new in the business and you're trying to grow your business, it's always nice to have a mentor, because that mentor can actually be your expert. When I started in the business, I used to pick up the phone and I talk to the person, and when a person tells me like, oh, school district, oh my gosh, you got to meet this guy I work with. He's an expert in school district, but I know he's very busy, so I don't know what his schedule looks like. But can you hold for a second? Let me ask him. And I just put the phone there for a couple of seconds. He's not even in the room. I called back. I said, hey, listen, I want to actually see what your schedule looks like, because he's available to be able to see you at this time or at this time. What's better for you? It's scripted, right? But if you can imagine, I'm borrowing somebody else's skill. I'm not saying I'm an expert, because if I'm an expert, you could ask me all the questions in the world. But if someone else is an expert and they're going to be showing up to the appointment, right, it's much easier for me to get that client, because that client won't be asking me what the expertise is all about, right? So if you are an expert, then tell me exactly what's going on. Why do I have to show up to your office for? Tell me everything. Tell me exactly what school district is good, because I have 15 minutes on the phone. I can talk to you. One thing I can tell you, when I get people on the phone, I don't engage with them on conversations about real estate. I usually look for why they're trying to buy a house or why they're trying to sell a house. So I got this many seconds or minutes I'll be talking to the person. It's all about connection. But once I'm connected, I get the appointment. So then when they show up, I could be explaining to them what they need. And I always tell them, no obligation to work with me, because there is no obligation to work with you. But it kind of puts people at ease that you're not trying to sell them anything. So when I tell them, hey, listen, no obligation to work with me, but I can give you information, and then you can take it home and figure out what you want to do with it. You see? No obligation to work with us. I got this person who's been in the business for 26 years, and he can give you a lot of insight on how to buy a home if you never bought a home before. I know he has a very busy schedule, so let me know what time are you available. Are you more available during the week, or weekends are better? But I always try to set the appointment right there. This is called mastery. If you become a master at appointment setting in this business, you'll be a top producer, I guarantee you. You don't have to be great at selling houses or listing properties. But if you're a master appointment setter, your business is going to take off, because that's what we call a rainmaker. Somebody makes it rain every time. Being able to control the situations around you, knowing how and when to communicate with others. See, there's always a perfect time. Have you ever met some people that are what we call socially awkward? When you're actually having this conversation with them, all of a sudden, they throw you off because they go on a tangent, or they start throwing a fit, or they start questioning you weird questions that you couldn't even answer. They make you feel uncomfortable, right? It's because they haven't mastered the knowledge of how and when to communicate certain things. These are the things that we could be mastering through personal development. But mastery of self is more important for your success, not even just in real estate, in life, for crying out loud. Some people actually stay single for the rest of their life. They couldn't figure out why. Well, guess what? People don't want to be around you. Why do you think? Why do you think they don't want to be around you? It's because you make them feel uncomfortable. You see? The biggest problem a lot of people have, believe it or not, is their insecurities. Look, people buy confidence. They actually stay away from insecurities. So if you have insecurities, figure it out for yourself before you meet with that person, and don't toss it in the middle of the table, right? That's the reason why when you meet socially awkward people, this is what you find. They keep tossing their insecurities. Like the whole world actually revolves around them. Like they're the sun. And the world revolves around them. It doesn't work like that, guys. You want to actually be the best person out there to meet with people. Be the confidant, the listener. Believe me, I have one of the biggest issues in listening. I have to really pay attention sometimes because I love to talk. So that's why this venue actually works very well for me. Yeah, but I love to talk. So maybe I'm kind of releasing my energy here. So when I get to sit down with people, then I just kind of listen more, right? But being aware of your personality and understanding how overwhelming it can get for others, being aware what type of personality you're dealing with. If you're dealing with somebody who actually is a blue, there's a book on this, blue, red, yellow, and green personality types. And it's nice to know this. The blue people are actually more attached to their emotions. What I see is about stories and telling them stories that can attach and be remembered. And then you have the green. The green are more analytical people. People that are just want to calculate. They want numbers. They want, like how things work and all these things, logic and everything. So when you're doing your listing presentation, you gear it towards that. You gear towards the numbers. And then you have the yellows are very meticulous, articulate, and very like dot all your I's and cross all your T's kind of person, right? Very detail oriented. Now, if you come in and you're not detail oriented, they see that and they say, oh, no, I don't want to work with this person. So you better actually get someone who's detail oriented to check your work, okay? This is one of the rules, by the way, guys. Focus on your strength, delegate your weakness, okay? So if you're not strong in detail orientation, give it to someone else. If you're not strong in presentation, have a partner who is. If you're not strong in certain areas of your business, then get somebody to be placed in that particular part of the business, or partner up with another agent to actually be able to fill that role, because you're not going to be all things for all people. You're only going to be some things for some people. Okay? Just remember that. So mastery of that part of you makes a big difference when you're presenting. And finally, influential. Able to make a difference in people's lives. This is really my core value when I'm sitting down with a client. How am I going to be making a difference in their life? By the way, not a negative difference. Because some people actually make a negative difference in people's lives. No, a positive difference. Being able to provide value to others. People ask all the time, like, how come you're not doing this to me? How come you promised you did this and you didn't do it, and you didn't actually, how come you do it? And I'm thinking to myself, like, well, because you never provided value for me to even do anything for you. But then it's not even worth for me to tell them that. Why? Because for me, if people are drainers, emotional drainers, I just kind of leave it alone. Like as if I'm actually a little mouse, like scuttering away. It's like, I don't need this. Let me just hide in my hole. It's okay. I'm okay with that, but at least I'm happy. So the point I'm trying to make to you is being able to provide value. If you're going to ask something from anyone, please, guys, try to make sure you're giving value to that person, so more than likely you're going to get a yes, okay? Otherwise, you might as well flip a coin, because that person can say yes if they feel like it, or no if they don't feel like it. But imagine if you did something great for someone and that person is not a sociopath who doesn't have this emotion, like no emotion whatsoever, but they can recognize reciprocity, right? Influence is about adding value to people's lives. If you think about most of the influential people out there, they bring some type of value to you. Even what they call social influencer, you know what the value they bring into you? Entertainment. I mean, everybody that can influence people out there brings some type of value that makes you feel that person is worth listening to, or worth following, or worth doing something that they mentioned that you should be doing, right? Influence is about providing value. If you really break it down, if I added so much value to you, right? If I ever request something from you, more than likely you'll say yes. Think about that. If it's something that's the value is actually equal or less. So I have to provide more value than what I ask. Because if I gave you a lot of value and I ask for more than what that value I gave you, you'll say no. Because it doesn't feel good, right? But if someone did something nice to you, or someone actually showed you a better way to do things, and this is how you get referrals, guys. You get referrals because people would love to refer business to you because you're giving them something of value. If you cannot provide them anything of value, it's hard for people to refer business to you. They're questioning themselves like, oh, I don't know this person, you know. So a relationship that's just beginning and they refer business to you, that's the reason why that referral came in two, like me and another agent, right? But after having lunch with that person, sitting down with that person, providing value to what I was doing, made him look good and everything to his client, right? That's providing value. Well, the other agent's out of the picture. Now, any business that he gets, he's referring to me. You see the difference? Now, imagine if you did that to every single client that you actually, or every single person that you get to meet out there. See, I always said to the agents I train, the day you can actually pick up clients from the street is the day you'll never go hungry in this business. Because each time you walk out there, you'll see somebody, right? so you know you're actually always in business. Why? Because you know how to deal with strangers. You know how to deal with people. You know how to interact with people. You can gauge people and figure out what type of personality they are. You know exactly how to mirror that person to make that person feel comfortable. And when you get to know that person, they get to know you, they wouldn't want to refer anybody else but you in the real estate field because they know they can trust you and they like you. This is where it boils down to, guys. There was this guy that made it in a HGTV show. I actually went into the show twice. This guy became a host because apparently he had the acting background. And he became a host of a very famous HGTV show across the United States, right? So he was providing value to all these people trying to sell a house. So he picked and chose he wanted to work with. He worked on higher end, worked in Potomac and Bethesda and Chevy Chase area. No problem picking up listing and selling houses. Why? Because they see him in the national TV as the expert, right? So that's how he provided value. As soon as he walks in, these people are like, oh my gosh, can you sign my autograph? You're a celebrity, right? I mean, so he provided a value in that sense. Now, the type of work he does now, it makes a big difference whether you get future value if he really took care of that client. But if he didn't take care of that client, which, you know, makes a huge difference, then that person will not get her future referrals, right? So the biggest difference here is being able to actually take care of the people once you also have those clients. So bringing value to that transaction that makes that person feel like, oh my gosh, this guy really went out of his way to help me. I would love to refer him to the next person that I know. Okay? So understanding the psychology interacting with others is part of the influential process to understand what type of personality you're dealing with, right? And also being able to understand that the relationships that you have are the ones when people come up to me like, I don't know anybody in this business. I'm like, you don't need to know many people. I only know 10 people. Well, guess what? I have one person. He worked at the bank and he sent me 26 clients that I closed, probably 35 that total. One person. So can you imagine that's 10, that's over 200, 300 transactions you could do in a year if you knew how to actually fine-tune your ways of talking to people and being able to get them to become what I call walking billboards. People that care about you because you care about them. Because on their birthday, they got a text message from you saying, happy birthday. Or they get a card from you saying, happy birthday. Or they get a call from you saying, happy birthday. Where they don't even get calls from anyone. You see? It's the caring part, remembering people's anniversaries, birthdays, whatever they celebrate. To me, it doesn't matter. Happy Hanukkah. It doesn't matter. What to me is what's important to them. Whatever they believe in, whatever they actually feel good to actually have people remember them on. Whatever it is. Able to attract the right people to get things done. And that's pretty much self-explanatory, because once you know people's personality, you know whether or not it's going to work or it's not going to work. Sometimes people hide. And you know what? I'm trying to get better at that, because sometimes when people start complaining about other people, they're really reflecting on themselves, how they are. And, I'm actually constantly trying to learn how to pick up on those cues so that I don't put them in my circle. Because when people start to complain, usually they're complaining because that's how others actually see them. It's a reflection of themselves, if that makes sense. So if you think about it, if someone's telling you, trust me, get the heck out of that room. Probably that person's not someone you can trust, because they have to tell you to trust them. Why they tell you to trust them? Because they can't trust themselves. You see how that whole psychology works? And believe me, it's tried and tested, and I've seen this through my personal experience. That person that ended up working with me one day kept telling me, trust me, I know what I'm doing. Trust me, this is the way it goes. Trust me. And I'm like thinking to myself, okay, I think you're trying to get a validation, since you cannot trust yourself, for me to trust you. Yes. And in the end, basically, that's exactly what happened. That's what came out. The fact that person didn't know enough, that they wanted to project themselves as more than what they are. Be careful, because those are what I call energy drainers. Anytime your energy gets drained, you cannot actually function better than where you are. That's reason why you have to be very careful who you surround yourself in. Because if those people you surround yourself with are negative, you'll eventually become negative. And that's actually from a book, actually. I think it's from the How to Win Friends and Influence People. It talked about that. It talks about like a story about this person that first went into a neighborhood. And in the beginning, he was saying like, oh my gosh, this neighborhood is horrible. There's murders, there's shootings, there's all these crimes and everything, right? After a while, all the shootings and all that stuff became numb. Like, you get used to it. And then eventually, basically, after a long period of time, they start to assimilate with the rest of the community and became normal. And he was doing the shooting at that point, right? Point I'm trying to make to you is, whatever you surround yourself with will eventually get into your core. No matter how much you don't want to believe this, there's a whole society that's getting brainwashed all the time. If you're looking at it from the history, you'll see exactly how societies, you don't have to look very far than World War II, how a whole society was actually like lied to. And then, a whole generation was actually destroyed, right? So understand this. Our business in the real estate requires us to understand human behavior to a certain degree, because we're not selling real estate. We're selling us to be in between the transactions. Seller can buy houses now without actually having an agent. Buyers can buy houses now without finding a seller without having an agent. You guys agree on this, right? The reason why they hire us is because they need some guidance. And if they're going to need some guidance, they need to have that person to be someone that cares about their needs. That's where it boils down to. Okay? That's what successful people does. Not just in real estate, but they provide value to others. Like Steve Jobs provided iPhones to a lot of people that are addicted to iPhones today. And just keep upgrading, Hey, let's keep upgrading. Let's make everything limited, exclusive to iPhones. And he did such a great job, if you think about it, in the marketing standpoint, but he provided value. That's why that company went from one place to the top level company, right? If you look at Apple in the 80s, they were almost out of business. Actually, matter of fact, they fired Steve Jobs. And then he ended up coming back in later on, actually, to continue, because they were really going out of business at that point. So, just like Steve Jobs, he had successes and he had failures. And then he became more successful because these principles, these qualities, most, if not all, of successful people have. So, Jim Rohn, one of my favorite motivational speakers. Success is nothing more than a few simple disciplines practiced every day. So if you learned anything from the qualities of successful people, those are the disciplines that we're looking at. See, if you notice, he didn't say discipline, disciplines. Disciplines. The idea that successful people have these qualities, and if you guys can fine-tune that quality into something that's usable in the real estate, I can guarantee you your success will depend on how you connect with people, based on the fact that you're influential and you can lead and you're visionary and you're consistent. All these other qualities that we talked about today is there. Okay? Well, thank you. Thank you so much, and